My name is Hannah Burr. I'm an artist. I live in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts. Why is art important to me? That's a little bit like asking why my hands are important to me or why my feet or my legs are important to me. It's such a part of me that I can't imagine life without it. It's the way that I see the world. When I listen, I doodle. When I look at objects, I'm always thinking about the color and how they're arranged. So that's why art's important to me, because I can't imagine life without it. I did always know that I wanted to be an artist. When people would ask me as a kid what I wanted to be, I just said an artist. So that's just how it went for me. It's different for every artist. That's not true for many artists. Some kinds of art that I make include sculpture, painting, drawing, things that people interact with, as well as these books. This book is about the chemical elements or the tiny ingredients that make up our world. I was curious to know, where can you find something like, let's say, the element chromium? I didn't really care what the scientists had to say about it. I just wanted to know where it was and what it was like. So I made a drawing for every element, and this was after doing some science research, but it was basically like, where can you find chromium? And it turns out that you can find chromium in egg yolks, a meteorite, carrots, yellow flooring, oysters, apples, and certain kinds of paints that are yellow or blue or green. So this is another form of art that I've made here, and part of it was making lots and lots of drawings and doing some research and writing a lot of stuff down. Other times I do things like this, which is, you might say it looks like something, but it really is just like nothing. It's more just like a kind of direct play, and I like working with different colors and different kinds of shapes. But you'll notice it doesn't really look like a thing. That's called abstract art. And I just like to play around with shapes like that. Here's another example. And then recently I made this, which was kind of a little different. It really depends on the project, but I usually start by journaling and writing and asking questions. Or I get really curious about a color or a certain kind of paint, and I start just playing around with it. When I'm actually painting, I'm using ink or acrylic and things that aren't stinky or bad for me, really. And usually I start with paper and pencil and these simple kinds of colorful paints. And just a brush or two and a little dish of water. So it's pretty simple, and I like to work with things in multiples, and so I usually have a big stack of paper. Doesn't have to be fancy paper, it's just whatever's around. And when I work on paintings, I usually prepare a whole bunch of surfaces before I start so that I don't get too involved with one painting, and I can work in layers on lots of surfaces at once. That way I don't get frustrated, and I can just move quickly from one to the other, and none of them becomes too important. Because I find that sometimes when a piece of art becomes too important, it makes it hard to do without it becoming really unpleasant. So I like to treat myself kindly, and I like to make it kind of as easy as possible in some ways. So what kinds of things does my art say? I like to point out in some way, in a very direct but playful way, something about the world that might be like here but kind of underneath, a kind of sparkly underlayer to things. So I like to create some kind of a connection for people and help them kind of feel like something bigger is at work in the world. And that could be something like feeling connected to everything, like when you look up at stars at night in the sky, or just a light, joyful feeling of seeing kind of mark or color that's really direct. I find that people under the age of 10 are really good at doing this kind of thing, and then as we get to be adults, we kind of forget how. And so I like to keep that part alive and to help other people connect with it through my art as well.